Marty, thanks so much. And the phone might have had to be separated from my ear. I think that if the search had gone on another few more days, I'm not sure my wife and kids would have ever come down here. I think that having to go through the process of being away from them, it puts a strain on a lot of folks, but very happy with the end result here. And so I'm very grateful for the very kind words. And, you know, it's been a pleasure working with you for the last 3.5 months, and really appreciated your look forward to a lot more, many more months ahead. Hopefully, you know, calmer waters and everything, but really your counsel and support the last 8 days have just been terrific. As Marty said, this is a great day to be a Drake Bulldog, but really every day is a great day to be a Drake Bulldog. Some days are just better than others, and today is certainly one of those days. You know, before I get started with a number of my remarks, there are some thank yous that I do want to get out there. The first thank you is to President Martin, being an excellent partner over the last week, and really being a great sounding board for me to kind of share my thoughts and feelings on you. You were a terrific partner throughout this whole process, and we could not have arrived at this point without you, so thank you so much for that. Vanessa Macro and Mary Alice Hill for assisting me in an expeditious and confidential manner in terms of how we get the MOU signed with Darian and the HR background checks completed. Those are pieces that you know, our friends in the media know, as they were calling and texting, you know, that on whatever it was, Wednesday night. We had to get some details, so I apologize for not returning people's calls and emails. I'll try to be more friendly in the future to Tommy and Matthew specifically. But you know, I appreciate you guys understanding the situation that we were in that night as we were trying to tie up some of those loose ends. To our athletics department staff, we've got a number of athletic department staff in the room here, including our coaches. Thanks for the kind words and notes of encouragement that you've sent to me over the last week. You know, it provided me the comfort in knowing that I could disappear off the radar for about a week or so while doing the search, and still sleep easy at night knowing that the trains were still going to be able to run on time in my absence. So that was fantastic. And then included in that group, I did want to point out Dave Thorson too. You know, Dave did a great job as our interim athletic director. God, here we go again. I'm trying to replace myself, apparently. I'm not. Interim head coach over the last week, and I really appreciated his professionalism and his friendship, and very grateful for what he did for our great university over the last week. Thanks also to our tremendous fan base. I mean, the emails, text messages, phone calls, voice messages were nothing short of outstanding. You know, I really didn't need any reminding of just how special of a place that Drake is, but the outpouring of support just really reinforced the decision that my family and I made to come here. So thank you so much for that. And then lastly, Kara and the boys, they couldn't be here today, but thanks for being that rock for me to lean on, you know, over the last week. You know, I'm sorry I had to cancel my trip home last weekend to see you guys, but I am flying out here tonight. Can't wait to get back this weekend. Help us pack up. We are moving next week down here, so we'll have the whole gang together. So they're excited to become Iowans, and so we've got a house, and they're not excited about the fact that they'll be living with my mom and dad for another 2 weeks while we get our house ready to go, but we take ownership on Monday. We'll do our closing, and so that's great from a personal standpoint to have the whole gang here and to really get involved in the Des Moines community. Just looking forward to it. You know, on March 7th, actually, I went back and looked at this, Marty and I sat in his office, and we discussed what a potential men's basketball coaching search could look like. You know, at that time, the previous staff was still in place, but I felt that it would be easier to have the conversation about how it could go while the waters were still calm, rather than initiate the conversation in the middle of a storm. Marty had agreed that day with my assertion that a key tenet must be that we must subscribe to the notion that we would fall in love with criteria and not fall in love with coaches. We would assemble a list of criteria for the position, run coaches' resumes through it, and see what was left standing on the other side. As long as I'm employed at Drake, we will start all searches, regardless of the position, whether it's an intern or a head coach of a sport, with the mindset of finding someone that has energy, passion, and vision. That needs to be the baseline for all future hires. Beyond that, 2 areas stood out: competency and character. What do they know, and who are they as people? Experiences here and elsewhere will help shape the knowledge base of an individual, but the character of a person is pretty well baked into their DNA and will be harder to change. Specific to this position, a few of the criteria Marty and I discussed were association with sustained success of a program, student-athlete identification and development, and fit for our campus and our community. I'm going to circle back to these 3 items here in a moment. The very first candidate that I had an extensive conversation with was Darren DeVries. I drove to his house last Saturday, met with him, Ashley, Tucker, Tatum at 1:30 last Saturday afternoon. Meeting with Darren was intentional. Meeting with him first was intentional. Based on the work that we had already done in candidates, I wanted him to be the first one up so that every subsequent conversation could be compared back to that initial discussion. In the course of that conversation, it became clear that Darren fit much of what we were looking and needed for as a head coach. He's been part of a Creighton program that has won at least 20 games in 18 of the last 20 years. He's played in the postseason in 19 of those 20 years, including 12 NCAA tournament appearances. That's sustained success. Darren has recruited the diamond in the rough players, especially players within a 5-hour drive of Des Moines to Creighton, and turned them into all-conference players and professional basketball players. That's student-athlete identification and development. Lastly, who he is at his core is a great fit for our campus and our community. He understands that at Drake, our student-athletes are students first and athletes second. He's used to working in an academic atmosphere like Drake. He also understands our community. While we were talking with Marty on Wednesday, as he mentioned at his house, Darren told the story of his experience growing up in Aplington. When someone became ill on a farm, neighbors would show up with their combine and help to get the work done in the field, because that's what people in Iowa do. Without knowing the significance of what he was about to say, he paraphrased a famous Paul Morrison line when he said that that's what we do because we understand that we're all in it together. We're all in it together. That is so true. I've seen it from this community over the last week. My senior staff picking up the slack around the office so I could get out and do the search. Members of our community, like Steve and Kathy Lacey, offering to assist with lodging for the DeVries family last night. Jenny Baranchek, where's Jenny? Jenny's in the back here. Jenny was in Minneapolis this week doing some recruiting and was scheduled to fly down to Columbus for the women's Final Four. And she canceled her trip down to the Final Four, drove back down to Des Moines because she wanted to attend today's press conference because she knew how significant of a moment this was for us in our history. And she wanted to provide a tour of the facilities last night to the DeVries family. That is, we're all in it together. You know, we are all in it together is more than just a saying or a slogan. It's our way of life at Drake. Darren is one of us. He's a native Iowan who has returned to his home state for all the right reasons, personally and professionally. 8 days ago, I pledged to our men's basketball team and to our terrific Drake University supporters that I was not interested in finding a candidate that only wanted to be a Division I head coach. I wanted to find someone that wanted to be the head coach at Drake University. And in Darren, we have found that person. Darren, I know you've been waiting a few years to hear this next part said out loud, especially in a setting like this, so here we go. It is my honor to present the new head coach of the Drake men's basketball program, Darren DeVries. Now, to celebrate this moment, our great equipment manager, Troy Jepson. Troy, are you in here? Troy put together this jersey. There he is in the back. So Darren wore the number 12 in high school and in college. So we felt it was only appropriate to get him a jersey with the number 12 on it. Although I must say that seeing your name and number in blue and white is a lot better than purple and gold.
Thank you. Can't tell you how excited I am to be home. This has been a long-time dream of mine, to be not just a head coach, but to be somewhere where I feel at home, to around so many friends and family. And I want to thank, first of all, before I get into all that, I want to thank Brian, I want to thank President Martin for giving me this opportunity. There's nobody all in as much as they are, and I'm so excited to be all in with them. This is going to be certainly a process, but it's a process we are all committed to, and if we do it the right way, we will get where we all want to be, and that's to make Drake men's basketball a consistent winner, a sustained winner, and something we're all proud of. Before I go on, I want to thank, I get to do this every day. It's something I love to do, but you can't do that without an awesome family. My wife, Ashley, of almost 20 years next week, my son, Tucker, and my daughter, Tatum, they are extremely excited to be close to home. They've already got their cousins all lined up. Tatum has all of her little cousins that she's so close to now. Now they're just in her backyard. So they are extremely excited. They're as excited as I am to be here. I have brothers, sisters. My mom and dad are here. Can't thank them enough for what they've done for me. They've all the values and the things I've talked about of why I want to be here at Drake is exactly what they've instilled in me, and that's something I want to say thank you for. Thank you. My wife's family's here as well. They drove across the state. This is why I wanted to be here, to be around friends, not just family, but friends, people of Iowa, walking around the campus the last few days and getting out in the community and meeting people. Iowans are different. When we go somewhere and you go to another state and you live in another state, or if we're playing a game in another state and you meet somebody and they say they're from Iowa, there's an immediate bond. There's a connection there. It's not like that across the country. Iowa is different in that regard. We all feel like we're neighbors and we haven't even met. And that's why I love this job. I wanted to be here for that reason, because I think that is what makes this place special. People have asked me, why Drake? You know, we haven't had a ton of sustained success. So why Drake? Why are you so excited? Why is it something you keep holding out for? Why do you want to be there? For me, the answer is simple. I just mentioned it briefly. The values that are here, the values of this state, the values of this city, the values of Drake are exactly what I hope to be. It's what I want my kids to be. It's what I want them to embody. There's so much to be said about family is still important. Family loyalty is still important. Giving beyond yourself and doing something for others is still important. I've seen these things firsthand. I know what this state is, this community is about. My hometown, I gave them an example of my hometown. I grew up in Appleton, Parkersburg. We had joined. My hometown of Parkersburg was destroyed, or mostly destroyed by a tornado. It got destroyed one day. The next day, there was nobody showing up in the morning that wanted a paycheck to show up at a neighbor's house, to a friend's house. They just showed up. They showed up with a chainsaw. They showed up with food. They showed up with blankets, because it's the way Iowans do things. That is still important to me. That is why this place is special. Des Moines and Drake is special for that reason. And when I talk about this community, Des Moines and Drake, I talk about it as one, because it is one community, because we are all in it together. So when we talk about being all in, it's not just us people in this athletic department. It's all of us doing this together. And that is why when you take a job like this at a place like this is what makes it special. I can't tell you for sure on day one when the wins will come or how many will come. I know I want to win. I know you want to win. We all want to win. I do know that we will give everything. We will give everything of our energy, of our passion, of our value system to make this thing work. Our players will give everything they have, not just to our basketball program, but to this community, to make sure it is something that you are proud of. Not just the wins and losses, but everything that embodies what we want this community to be about. That is what we will do. And when we do that, whenever that time comes, the wins and losses, not just on the court, but all of our successes will follow that. For any program to be successful, though, it does take a lot. It takes a lot of people, a lot of resources, a lot of people doing more than what they're asked to do or need to do. They're not required to do it. They just do it because they want to do it. That is why we will succeed here. And I've seen it happen here. I think it was 2008, I believe. I had a Creighton team over here. It was Adam Emenecker. I know most of the names. Adam Emenecker, Clayton Corver, Bucky, Josh Young, and Houston. Just remember Houston dunking. That's all I remember. But you know, Adam's driving down the lane. He's kicking out to Corver and Cox, and Josh Young's scoring every way possible, and we're getting tip dunked on. And the dog pound's doing their thing, and they're barking at us and letting us have it a little bit. The crowd is full. I've seen in those flashes what this place is capable of, and we can get it to that level again, not just on a flash, not just on a single night, but on an every night basis. And it will take some time. It will take some time. At Creighton, I've been there 20 years. We're up to 17,000 fans a night now. It wasn't always like that. There was 4,000 or 5,000 fans a night, and it got built slowly. But people hung with us. They were in it. They were in it with us. They were in it together. And if we can do that here, we have the possibilities of doing those exact same things. This league, the Valley, played at Northern Iowa, was there for 5 years, and then have been a coach in this league for 13 years. It's an awesome league. There's tremendous competition in this league. It's been that way for a long time. You got to give Commissioner Elgin a lot of credit for what he's done with this league to sustain such a high level of competition. You have to earn every win you get every night, and you've seen that with Loyola this year. What an awesome story for them. And that's it's neat for our league, but it's neat for me. It's neat for us in this room to say it is possible. They weren't there a few years ago either, but they did it right. They built it. They have players that play together. They're unselfish. They play hard. They represent their school. They represent themselves in a positive light. And that's the reason. It's not an accident that they made it there. They had a plan. They followed through with the plan. And because of that, they are going to be playing in the biggest stage this weekend. And that is something that we just want to build it towards that. And if we get to there, we get to there. That'll be, you know, an unbelievable accomplishment. But the process of getting there is going to be what's more important to me than anything. If the results, if we don't make it, we don't make it. But we'll give everything we can to get us there. Our former players, the players of this program that have played in the past, this will always be a players program. This is not about me. It's not about our coaches. This was a players program. It will always be about the players in this program. I want all of the former players. I invite you publicly, come and see us in practice. Come to games. Come to my house and let's just talk some basketball. Let's talk hoops. We'll make up half the stories anyway. I want you to feel like this is yours because it is yours. And to our current players that we have on this and future players, all I ask of them is just be all in. Be all in to your teammates. Be all in to the university. Be all in to this community. Be all in just because you want to give something greater than yourself. You want to be bigger than what you can do by yourself. Embody it all, embrace it all, and then at some point in time, whenever that time comes, hopefully at Drake, we will be cutting down some nets sometime soon. So going back to my original statement, you ask, why Drake? I say, where else would you want to be? And with that, I open it up for questions.
This time we'll take any questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll get the wireless mic to you quickly.
Randy Peterson from the Des Moines Register. You've had a chance to move on. You could have gone to the Summit League some places, yet you didn't. You decided to, you tried here a couple of times, but besides that, you stayed at Creighton 20 years. Why?
Why have I stayed at Creighton for 20 years? Because Creighton's where myself, my family loved being. We loved being there. What's important to me isn't what is important to every other, I don't put it on everybody, but most coaches in this business, they're about climbing that ladder. They're about getting to that next step. That's not what's most important to me. What's important to me is my family is happy and that we are happy together. Sometimes in this profession, you don't get to choose that. You don't get to choose it because you have to take a job to feed your family. I've never wanted to leave for anything that wasn't good for all of us. And if it didn't feel like I was all in on it, or if they weren't all in on it, I didn't want to do it for as long as I could. And sometimes that gets dictated by other circumstances. So when other opportunities came around, that wasn't where I wanted to be. When this one came around, several times, this is what I wanted. And I didn't give up on that because I see something here. I know what this job is. I know what this is about. I think I know what can work here. And that is why I wanted to be here. So when this opportunity came about and I was able to get here, my family couldn't be more excited about this opportunity. Just the chance to come home, to be around family, and to do it at a place that we all believed in. And that's why. Thank you.
Tommy Birch, Des Moines Register. Darren, you talked about the entire process that it takes to get the program to where you want it to be. What is your plan to get it on track, I guess?
We need some players first. I mean, that's you know, it was we had a big recruiting or senior class last year, and they had signed a fairly large incoming class. The reality is that in that incoming class, we've honored all of those scholarships, and they're all welcome to come. And I've spoken with most of them and left messages. For those that in that recruiting class that want to still come, we are honoring that scholarship. I want them to be here. I have a good feel for what they are and what they're about, and we're excited for that. For the ones that want to move on, I respect that too. They have one chance to play college basketball, and it's not their fault that the coach that recruited them left. So I don't want to hold any of those kids to that fact that they're not here anymore. So if they want to still come, we want them here. For the ones that don't and they want to go explore their options, I embrace that for them, and I want them to go find a place that makes them happy and that they can be successful. So we do have some holes to fill in terms of scholarships and players, but there's also opportunity that comes with that. And the opportunity is my staff and I, we get a chance to go find guys that fit, and we know fit at what we want to do and what we feel will be successful here at Drake. And that's where it may take some time. I don't know how long that time will take, but we will get there. It's certainly a unique circumstance in terms of the amount of scholarships that we'll need to fill.
Hey, Darren, Matthew Bain with the Register. You said that you had met with players yesterday, the current players, at the one-on-one meetings. Just how did those go, initial impressions, just how those went? It
was a great group of kids. They were all very honest, and the reality is that we have a 15-minute relationship right now. You know, it's so for them to open up to me and me to tell them a little bit about me. I chose not to meet with the whole team at once because I didn't know that I would get a good enough feel for them, and they wouldn't get a good enough feel for me. I wanted to sit down with them each individually, tell them about myself. I wanted to hear about them and their family, and then we could talk about where they were at, you know, and their future here and what they wanted to see it as. And I thought all the conversations were great. They were very open about it, and I can't wait to get to work with them here in this upcoming week.
Hey, Darren, Michael Admire from Channel 13. How many times did you interview for the Drake job? And also, how did you not hold a grudge over time?
No. I don't. Those things, we talk about trying to be resilient, and you're just committed to it. When you're committed to something, it wasn't like anything changed with why I wanted to be here. Just because I came up short in the previous times didn't change the way I felt about it. So there was no reason for me to have any ill will. Those decisions were made because they were made in the best interest of the university. I'll make a lot of decisions for my basketball team and for the university that I think are the right decisions, but they may end up being the wrong ones sometimes. And that's okay. That happens. The only thing I'm happy about now is I'm here, and that's what I'm most excited about.
Darren, Travis Hines, what do you view your recruiting strategy and footprint, and specifically how do you view recruiting the state of Iowa as a former Iowa high school player yourself?
Yeah, anytime in recruiting, you got to protect your home base. I mean, everybody knows that. The state of Iowa, to be honest, is a little bit why Creighton got going. We stole them across the river, you know. Ryan Sears and Nate Funk and Kyle Korver and Doug McDermott. I had to hire his dad to get Doug, but but there's been, I can go on at Tyler McKinney, Brody Darren. There's just so many players that went across the river to Omaha, and that's where we got it going, was with players right from this state. So we have to start in, and then you build around it. And the whole Midwest is an area we just have to be really good in. And you do a good job there, and then try to, find one maybe on the outliers and stuff where you can't fill that need from within the recruiting area that you try to hit the strongest. So we would do everything we can to recruit the area as hard as we can. There's a lot of great coaches in this state. I think that's why there's also produced a lot of great players. They do such a tremendous job developing kids from an early age, and so by the time you get them in college, they're already ready.
From back when you were playing in high school in the 90s, Drake, at that point in time, students went to Drake games. A lot of students went to Drake games. The student population at Drake basketball games is not very good right now. What can you as a head coach do to bring the students into Drake basketball?
Just be one of them, I think that's, we actually talked about that when we met, is the students will come when they feel like there's a connection. If there's a connection with our team, and that starts with our players. Our players are their biggest fans, and vice versa. When our players interact with their students in a way that's my buddy down the hall, and that's my guy from here, and I ran into him in science class. He's a good dude, even if they don't know him. That's the way you get the students to come to the games. It can go the opposite way too. If we don't handle ourselves right, if we carry ourselves like we're above the students, then they don't feel like they want to come support you. So from our team is going to be a part of this community. Like, as we talked about, it's all in. We're all in together. So the students are as big a part of us being successful as the guys on the floor. They will impact games by showing up. And we want the dog pound to be back. We want it to be back. We want them to heckle me a little bit. I've told a few people the story. When I was a player, before the national anthem, you have to face the student section. So I was standing there, and they were having a little trouble getting the anthem going. And one of the students was harassing me about what it was like to be the worst athlete in the family. And the guys are, they're digging at me a little bit, and I'm kind of sitting there like, well, it's kind of true, So, but that's the type of fun when you get that atmosphere going again. That's what makes college basketball special, is when you have the students, you have the fan base, and you have a full crowd. This place is capable of being one of the toughest places in the Valley to play, because it is a nice, homey environment, and it does make noise when you get it going. So we want the students here. We'll do everything we can to make that happen. We just got to be one of them.
Larry Morgan from MediaCom and ESPN3. You mentioned staff, and you mentioned needing players. How soon do you hope to assemble the staff? And will you be going to San Antonio to talk to people down there?
I won't be going to San Antonio, but the staff is, we're getting closer to having one or two on board already. That's been in the works for a little bit. There's some human resources and paperwork and things, so don't want to mention names yet until we get to that point. But feel really good about the staff that we're going to put together. Just want to make sure as I put it together that I'm not rushing to put it together, because I want to make sure everything we've talked about, I want to make sure that they have the same values that we do, and all the components of the staff fit together, and they mesh well together. Because continuity on the staff, much like when you see a team that you can just tell when they like each other and they get along and stuff. Staffs are the same way. When you have a staff that's connected, you're going to have a team that's connected, and that's really important to me as I go through this process here this next few days.
No, you had mentioned you felt like you were close to getting this job before. Is there a time this time around that you felt like you were in a really good position, or something that changed for you?
I mean, the minute the job opened, I sent Marty a text. I'm still all in. You know, so no, it's. I don't know if I felt better. I mean, I've always felt just as passionate about it. So, like we talked about it, it was just a matter of whether what they were looking for this time was matched. If I matched what they were looking for, so I'm just thankful it did, and happy that it turned out.